Kia ora tātou. Tuatahi ake ka mihi ki te kaupapa kei te kōkiritia I tēnei wai whakakotahi ana i a tātou. Ngā mihi ki tēnei kaupapa. Acknowledgements firstly to the speakers that came before us. This is the second time I've presented in this forum and bringing our institutions together for the purpose of sharing information, sharing experiences to lift the water levels for all of us, I think is a beautiful kaupapa. Nō reira, ngā mihi ki te kaupapa, ngā mihi ki a tātou katoa. So as was said, we'll be talking to our summer programs and the 3 summer programs that we run at Waipapa Taumatarau, and that's Toia Ki Waipapa, which is the program for our Māori students, Unibound, which Junior will be talking to for our Pacifica student in Summer Start. So Junior will kick us off with this kōrero on Unibound, and I'll take it from there, touching on Summer Start and also talking a bit more detail about our Māori program, Toia Ki Waipapa. Nō reira, tēnā koe Junior.
Oi, mālora sui mo malang mama, olo ingo Junior Toi Law. I'm the Unibound manager here at Waipapa Taumatarau, and just to touch on what Heta said as well, just want to acknowledge the speakers that came before us. Awesome presentation. Also, just want to thank the members of TEC for allowing us to share the space with our other institutes and to talk about our and share more information about our kaupapa. So as the Unibound manager, I manage one of 3 summer programs that we offer here at Waipapa Taumatarau, and Heta will touch upon the other 2 as well. But just to get straight into it as well.
You've gone on mute, Junior.
Good, Heta, I don't know how that happened. So just to touch on about what Unibound is, like I said before, it is one of 3 summer programs. Our one is an academic enrichment summer program for Pacifica school leavers. So our goal is to prepare our Pacifica students to succeed at the University of Auckland. Although majority of our students do carry on to study at the University of Auckland, but we don't ever exclude anyone that have intentions to go elsewhere. We are an inclusive program. We welcome anyone and everyone, and those that want to be a part of our kaupapa as well. But how we prepare them, we enroll them into 1 credit-bearing course. The course that we enrolled in this year as well as last year was Arts Gen 104. It is it's a stage 1 course that they can use to cross-credit into their chosen degree. But we also provide them with opportunities to establish their village. What we mean is, it's we want students to create opportunity, or we want to create those opportunities for our students to network, form relationships and connections with not just within their or amongst their peers, but with staff members across the university as well. More specifically, our dedicated Māori and Pacifica staff members. For each student, their village will look a little bit different. So for someone that's wanting to get into pre-med, a pre-med course versus someone that's doing a conjoint degree, their support services that they need to touch on will look a little bit different. So each of their village will be unique, but it's just Unibound just to provide that opportunity to think about who their village are, because as the saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child as well, and no student, or not many students that I know of can endure this university journey alone. But really, it's also an opportunity for students to give university a go, to get a taste of what uni life is. And fortunately, our program coincides with the summer school timetable, where they get to experience the lectures, get a feel for what it's like to sit in a lecture, as well as tutorials and other various workshops as well. But really, as all in all, just to sum it all up, it's an opportunity for our Pacifica students just to transition into university. Much like AUT, it is essentially a transitional program where we bring them in right at the end of their high school journey and transition them into their first semester and help them build the confidence that they need to begin their undergraduate studies. How we want to structure Unibound, for over the 5.5 weeks, we have key themes for each week, and these themes help us design and also plan activities throughout the program. So each week we have, like I said, we have key themes. So the first week, for example, is whanaungatanga. This is the foundation of our Unibound program, where building and forming connections right at the beginning is very key. Because our students can come in quite shy. It is quite a daunting experience for our Pasifika students because um, as Pasifika, we make about 8.9% of the student body. So already it can be quite a nerve-wracking experience, especially if you're the only one that came to this university alone. So we want to use their whole week just focusing on whanaungatanga, building those connections, and really for students to learn about their peers and their mentors and in the university, and just really to dive deeper into who they are and just to really form those connections. And then as each week goes, as we progress each week, we have different themes. And the next week is identity, where we focus mostly on their Pacific identity, but how they can remain grounded in their Pacific identity. And especially, when certain events occur where, reflect back on one political party and the attack on our university. That's just an example of, how we can keep them, how we allow them to remain grounded, as Pasifika students within the University of Auckland as well. Each of our Unibounds are split across 5 different bowls. Bowl groups. We call them bowl groups because a bowl is what holds up a traditional Fale Pasifika. And so, if you think about Unibound as the body or the house as well, the 5 different bowls represent that. And each bowl are led by 3 mentors. In the past, we've had 2 mentors lead the bowls, but to ensure the program runs smoothly and we're able to maintain sustainability in case one mentor does fall ill or is sick with COVID, etc. Having 3 mentors lead the group just allows for just an easier for our program to run a lot more smoothly as well. It's what's very important for us in supporting our tauira is that we everything is free. We provide free snacks, we provide free lunches when we can, and we ensure that all the activities are free because some of the challenges that our students face, particularly if I jump into the next slide, is financial constraints, where a lot of our students don't have the capabilities to afford many of our activities as well. On top of that, we do load them up with a AT hop card. So we give them enough credit to last throughout the 6 weeks, so that just to minimize those financial constraints. Because as our Pasifika most of our students come from low decile schools, and so we just want to ensure that we minimize as many barriers as we can as well, with financial constraints being one of them. On top of financial constraints, cultural adjustment is one of the challenges as well. Academic preparedness, acknowledging that our students had gone through various lockdowns throughout their high schooling journey. And also one thing that we want to take into consideration from last year as an example is that a lot of our teachers were on strike. So they, for some students, that had a major impact on their learning, as well as the years prior to that too. Also for our Pasifika students, limited access to their device, or limited access to a device such as computers, laptops, as well as essential to their learning. Some of the challenges that we had in our program as well, just touch on this real is that we had a few enrollment issues, just with regards to getting our students enrolled on time, especially with the quick turnaround between the end of their high schooling journey as well as the start of the summer period, largely due to students providing identity documents. That's quite a huge barrier for a lot of our students, as it is quite common for some of our Pasifika students don't have passports, and then the only document that they have to rely on is their birth certificates, and not quite often it can be misplaced, especially if our students are moving from houses to houses quite often throughout their life as well. So often these documents can be quite hard to locate, and so therefore it just creates these ongoing delays as well. And if they can't get enrolled, then we've got limited access to all our features, including our computers and our Wi-Fi as well. Just to slowly wrap things up and throw it over to Hetzer as well, we do have set activities that are key to the delivery of our program, and some of them are academic related as well as non-academic. So we do have academic workshops where we do fun activities such as debates, where we teach students how to debate effectively, as well as research towards their debate topic, so learning how to use our library learning services, but also engaging in community events where our students had the pleasure of going out to Vinnie's, because we want them to remain grounded in who they are, and also to as a reminder to to serve their communities as well. So when they come to university, they obtain their degrees, that they have, and it's in the forefront of their mind that they're wanting to serve their communities as well. But also we've got a lot of activities based on whanaungatanga as well. Just ensuring that there's full participation, and then that everyone just feels like they belong as well. Just to wrap things up with our stats, a couple more slides as well. This year we had about 78 students actively enrolled into our program, which is a slight increase from 2023. But even before then, there was a bit of a dip from 2022 as well. Just to highlight the reasons why there's a bit of an up and down in our statistics. Essentially, we average about a 40% conversion rate. So if we, meaning that if we get an X amount of students registered, and then typically about 40% of those students actually look to enroll and participate in our summer program as well. So the goal for us this year as well, if we're looking to actively gain more students, is that we need to actively get more registrations as well. But for us, although yes, we'll have more students, but we ultimately give students a choice as well. But we really want to sell the aspect that this is a program worth investing their time into as well. Lastly but not least, just to kind of give you an idea of where our students end up in after summer programs and into their semester one study. So this year, and as usual, this is nothing's really changed over the last few years, but Bachelor of Arts seems to be our most popular destination for a lot of our uni-bound students. Secondly is our tertiary foundation certificate. For those that enter into TFC, it's most likely that they hadn't obtained UE. So we do get a large students that come into our program that haven't obtained university entrance, and then we have the remainder of our students scattered across the different faculties as well. Interesting enough, the 7 students that weren't enrolled this year were unfortunate. They had missed out on gaining entry into the TFC, meaning that there weren't spaces available, and those 7 students made an attempt to enroll in TFC, just weren't fortunate enough to get a place, and just due to the limited spaces. But that's just a wrap up of our uni-bound program. Sorry, Hita, I know I took up a bit of time as well, but I'll throw it over to you just to end things off as well. Kia ora, thank you.
Kia ora, Junior. Kia ora mai tātou. Now, just as I'm about to share my screen, and I hope everybody can see that. So as I set that up, I will preface my kōrero, and can everybody see my slides? Ka pai. I will just preface my kōrero by saying that AUT were generous enough to share their presentation with us beforehand on our request. And the reason for that was we wanted to have a look at their presentation to save doubling up on content and doubling up on information as much as we could, because both of us were presenting on some of our summer programs. And so that being the case, AUT and Junior as well had very detailed presentations in talking about a lot of the nuts and bolts of these programs, which was very useful. I will try to branch out a little bit more on some other areas of focus that weren't canvassed as heavily, mainly our cohort areas, and also some of the flow-on effects of these summer programs into the other activities within our university. There are some similarities between the universities that I'll touch on, but only, it is useful, so I will touch on it, but only very briefly. So the similarities between the two universities, school leavers is the main focus for both. It's about easing the transition for these Year 13 students into university. Both universities focus on underrepresented groups, underrepresented in university, our Māori cohort, our Pacifica cohort. They're done in January and February. They're meant to help increase preparedness of our students and help familiarise themselves with university life. And I thought put actually quite beautifully and written quite beautifully within the AUT kōrero to build a culturally affirming and engaging environment. And so those are some of the areas for which there is alignment. The pillars of these summer programs are similar. It's to bring these students in and to get them used to and flowing in university life before semester one starts. Now, our summer programs, it started off, there were two. So there was Summer Start and there was Uni-bound. And so the Māori cohort sit within the Uni-bound program. But in recent years, we've decided to give each cohort their own respective programs. And so we've now moved forward to the current structure that we have now with Summer Start, which is available to all students, Toi ki Waipapa to our Māori students, and Uni-bound, as Junior just talked about, to our Pacifica students. Now, Summer Start is the largest of the three programs. It also has the most offerings in terms of the courses or the papers that can be done over summer school. So they offer 20 options or 20 papers that they can do. But as Junior said, and as is the case with Toia ki Waipapa, there's a particular paper where the students in those other two programs are guided towards. Now, with the three programs, Summer Start being the main program that is for all students. Māori students and Pacifica students can, of course, still go into Summer Start, and that's absolutely fine. And a lot of them do go for that option, but by having three separate programs, it actually allows and opens things up to the different cohorts that we have. Now, obviously, there's a cultural difference between the three programs, but it actually goes a lot deeper than that, and there's a lot more factors than just a cultural difference. And I'll just touch on a couple of examples for that. We have accommodation offerings, scholarships for our three programs, and what they do is we offer a scholarship where all of the students in any of the programs can apply, and if they're in the program, they can apply for a scholarship to stay in the halls of residence for free over the summer period. Now, with the huge availability of beds within the summer programs, within the summer period, we have more beds available than we get applications. So basically, any student that applies and that is eligible will automatically get it. And that's across all the programs, and that's articulated to all the students. However, those that access it are quite different. Now, Summer Start, less than 20%, actually took up the scholarship to stay in accommodation. Uni-bound was a lot less, it was around 6%, but the Toia ki Waipapa students, it was 4 out of 5. And so that right there is an indication of the big difference between the cohorts of the different programs, and that's just an accommodation. Another example is where they're based. So both Summer Start and Uni-bound. Ooh, what happened there? Sorry, I think my slides. Apologies. I don't know what happened there. So where they're coming from, the region that they're coming from, Auckland based, the huge majority of students from Uni-bound and Summer Start, as I said, are Auckland based. 99% of the Uni-bound students. There's one student in the Uni-bound program that didn't come from Auckland, and he came from, I believe, Otago, wasn't it, Junior? The rest all came from Auckland. For the Toia ki Waipapa students, it was around a third. So the huge difference between those that come from Auckland, and one is not better than the other. It's not better to have a lot from the region. It's not better to have a lot from Auckland, but this just articulates and shows the difference in these three cohorts, in these three programs. So it's not just a cultural difference. And the faculties that they choose, as Junior mentioned, arts is the primary faculty for the Uni-bound students, as is the case for the Toia ki Waipapa students. But Summer Start, it's actually science. So these are just some examples. The schools for which they come from also has big distinctions. 77% of the students in Summer Start came from decile 7 schools or higher. Majority of students from Toia ki Waipapa came from those lower decile schools. And so these are just some of the differences between the cohorts that becomes very apparent as we move through this process. Now, what that does is it helps these students get into a program that identifies strongly with them. And this has been and shown to be particularly helpful for our newest program, Toia Ki Waipapa. So Toia Ki Waipapa, we've had a successful start to the year. There was a significant increase for students between last year and this year for the Toia Ki Waipapa program. It went up over 200%. So the numbers more than doubled to what they were last year, which is great for the program, and it's a good statistic and a good thing to have for us. But the flow-on effects actually avalanche from there. And I'll just pull up the example of these are the programs within our university that we run with our office, the PVC Māori office, and others after Toia Ki Waipapa. So all three of these events followed Toia Ki Waipapa within the next few weeks after its conclusion. So we had the Māori and Pacific orientation, and that was run with the PVCP office. We had the Māori Scholarships Celebration and the Māori Accommodation Check-in, which was run between our office and accommodation. Every single one of these events went up significantly in numbers. The three that followed Toia Ki Waipapa each had at least a 400% increase. Each of them. Some of them 500 to 600%. So there was a huge increase, and of course a lot of factors that come into play as to why these things increase and why the numbers increase. But the big numbers in Toia Ki Waipapa is actually a really big contributing factor. Just by those students, and those students who engaged with that program engaged heavily with these programs that followed and these events that followed. So just by attending, it helps push the numbers up, but they also bring their classmates. They also bring their friends from accommodation. And so those that participated in Toia Ki Waipapa lift the numbers across all of these events that followed. And again, those are good numbers for the events, but it actually flows on and has a bigger flow-on effect from there. So and this is just a handful of examples, but just by attending those three events, the students were in a pastoral care sense. They were put in front of and exposed to our Māori case manager, to our mentors within the pastoral care space. In the academic support and mentoring space, they were there and they were in front of our tuakana network, our Māori Pacific tuakana network that supports our students in that academic space. Also, student support workshops were held in those three events that followed Toia Ki Waipapa. So there were sessions on referencing, sessions on essay writing, sessions on time management, things like that. And for extracurricular activities, they were in front of Ngā Tauira Māori, who is our Māori Students Association, and also our Māori leads in sport and rec. And as we know, and as our stats tell us in our university, those that engage with sport and rec are more successful in an academic sense than those that don't. And that's just a handful of examples. They were also given kōrero from our office about Waipapa Tau Matarau and the neighbouring areas within our spaces. They're in front of the Māori leads within our space, Māori leads in the accommodation space. This is just by going to those events. Now, beyond that, it's not just about they were here and they got presentations. A couple of examples, and there are many. Our Māori case manager, one of our Māori case managers, reached out to our office and acknowledged the numbers that come to these events and how that impacted her space. She said the numbers that have come into, Māori numbers that have come into her office and they've reached out to her and that have reached out for support from Campus Life increased double, triple than it was last year. And she attributes that largely to the amount of students she got to talk in front of and she got to engage with in some of those programs that followed Toia Ki Waipapa. Another example was Ngā Tauira Māori reached out with gratitude because they've had the highest number of first-year registrations that they have that they can ever remember. Now, both of these two, Ngā Tauira Māori and the campus care team, presented at these events last year. But the difference was the numbers of those students was so much bigger that engagement became more meaningful and that those numbers went up significantly. And so these are all the flow-on effects from our summer program. Now, as I said, there are a lot of factors into increasing numbers in these different programs and different events. And of course, there are different focus points and reasons why that is the case. So I will say that those other events, the numbers jumped 400, 500% from last year without any extra funding at all. So it wasn't as if our university pumped a whole lot more money into it, and that's how we got more marketing or whatever to get those numbers up. The numbers didn't change, the funding didn't change, and the leadership in those spaces in terms of the offices didn't change. But a big factor was we got strong numbers in the very first program, our summer program, right up the top. And I'll just wrap up because I know that I think we've gone over time, but just a couple of the challenges. A big challenge for us has been engagement. And I think as is the case, and as absolutely looks the case for other programs and AUT's program, how it runs is actually very effective. They have high value. In a lot of spaces, they're free and they're fun. And we see the value in our programs when we see a large number of actually younger siblings of those that have done this program coming through. So once we get in front of them, it has a high value for them academically. It's also a high value for them socially. But students understandably would and have been, and this is a barrier we've come up to, in the psyche of they finish their year 13 exams, and over that summer period, they might work or they might have a holiday, and then they're not studying until the start of semester one. And so to get them out of that mindset and to take half of that holiday away to start study early is something that has been difficult to get through at times. And as Junior talked about the cost, I think this becomes potentially a bigger challenge in the coming years, because previously Fees Free has been able to cover the summer programs at Waipapa Taumatarau. So that being the changing landscape, political landscape now, that makes it potentially more costly for our students moving forward. So koina, kia ora tātou.